great venues like the East Cut and all of these new places that, again, bring excitement and joy as the weather starts to improve. I am looking forward to more and more things happening in San Francisco. Now, I declared it Weed Week a couple of weeks ago, and I did so when I went to China intentionally. So I know everyone had a lot of good times and a lot of funs, but the thing that I enjoyed most is when I made that declaration, it was on an incredible rooftop where a club I used to party at on Folsom Street, I didn't even know they had a rooftop like this. And it was so great, so exciting, and we're seeing more and more rooftops as the weather starts to get better in San Francisco. So the point is, we want to make it easier, we want to make it fun, we want to make it accessible, and we want, in all the work that you all do to make these experiences joyful, we have to be a real partner from the city side in order to get rid of the bureaucracy, get rid of the layers of fees, get rid of the drama, and get to yes. That is my goal, that is my hope, and as a result of today, I'm hoping you'll have a chance, again, to share your experiences, including your challenges, and what we as a city can do better in order to move nightlife and entertainment forward in a positive direction so the city is more fun and exciting. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. Next up on today's agenda, we will not be hearing from Supervisor Mandelman anymore. He unfortunately could not make it today, but we will be hearing from Supervisor Matt Dorsey, so come on up. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, and I want to express my gratitude to Mayor Breed. Before I talk about entertainment and nightlife, I do want to just say, because something that I've talked to a lot of you about, in fact, I was talking to just Jeff about this, public safety is so foundational to our success in making sure that entertainment and nightlife succeeds, and there is no one in City Hall who has been a stronger advocate and partner of mine on public safety than Mayor London Breed, and I was proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with you last year on a plan that was going to get us to a fully staffed police department in 5 years. I was proud to stand again with the mayor to oppose the Cop Tax Coalition on a harebrained scheme that put tax hikes ahead of public safety, and I'm continuing to work with that. I think that's so important. It's something that I hear from a lot of the businesses that I represent in District 6, so thank you, Mayor Breed, for your leadership. So I'm Supervisor Matt Dorsey. I proudly represent District 6 neighborhoods that include South of Market, East Cut, Showplace Square, South Beach, Mission Bay, Treasure Island, among others. Since taking office in 2022, supporting nightlife and our cultural and entertainment venues has been a major priority of mine, not just because so many of them are based in District 6, it's also because we have known right from the start that our economic comeback is going to be powered by what San Francisco does well, and there's few things we do better than entertainment, nightlife, restaurants, and cultural institutions. Last year, we won passage of an ordinance I authored to allow new bars and nighttime entertainment venues to open along the Folsom Street corridor. This initiative breathed new life into our community and enabled the historic Stud Bar, as the mayor mentioned, to open. This coming out of a really challenging time in the pandemic. The ordinance also allowed businesses like the Folsom Foundry to extend its nightlife for amplified sound events up to 2 a.m. Instead of midnight. Our district takes a lot of pride in fostering a diverse array of street fairs also, including the beloved Folsom Street Fair, Up Your Alley, How Weird Street Fair, and the Barrison Street Fair. These events not only celebrate our culture, but they also serve as a vital platform for local businesses and artists. Downtown First Thursdays will be launched in South of Market this Thursday, May 2nd, and I hope to see everyone there for a brand new monthly street party along several blocks of 2nd Street with open-air beer gardens, DJs, and more. It'll go from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., and it's a partnership with the Civic Joy Fund, East Cut CBD, Yerba Buena CBD, and 111 Minna Gallery. Just yesterday, we joined with hundreds of very hot men to celebrate these SF Eagles' 11th anniversary. This is a block party with a lot of party goers. My office is also working with the Department of Public Works to turn Eagle Plaza into the city's first codified public plaza with a full-time steward, which will make it easier for entertainment and nightlife permits. I'm blessed to represent a supervisor district with 3 cultural districts: the Soma Pilipinas Cultural District, the Leather LGBTQ+ Cultural District, and a portion of the Transgender Cultural Districts. I am just a huge fan of these districts, not only because they celebrate our city's past, but more importantly, they ensure that our rich and diverse cultural communities remain a vibrant part of our city's nightlife and entertainment and restaurant scene for generations to come. Again, this is something San Francisco has always done well, and that's going to be key to our comeback. And I feel like in the last couple of weeks, at least in South of Market, I've been to more restaurant openings, and there's just more things happening. San Francisco's comeback is underway, and it is entertainment and culturally powered. So thank you to this community for that. And just looking ahead, my office is working with State Senator Scott Wiener to push the entertainment zones in the South of Market that'll allow people to carry alcoholic beverages outside on designated days throughout the year. So I hope you'll join me in supporting Senator Wiener's SB 969. And just know that as a supervisor, you know, I'm kind of an old guy who's in recovery, and maybe I don't go to as many things as I used to, but I'm going to be a partner in the entertainment and nightlife community. I understand what it is for our economy, and it is what makes San Francisco into a destination city. This is something that helps us be a destination city for conventions and tourism. So I want to thank all the people from the entertainment and nightlife community for everything you're doing for our city, and know that you have a partner in my office. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Dorsey. Now we will hear from Supervisor Joel Engardio. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Joel Engardio. I represent the Great Sunset District. Now I'm following the supervisor from Soma, where all the nightlife is, and you might be wondering, what's going on in the Sunset? Well, let me tell you, the Sunset is where it's at. Don't count us out. I'm telling you, from Irving Street and 20th, we have a relatively new place called Gao. It's a Vietnamese place with a gorgeous bar adjacent to the dining room. It's always packed. And you go out to the ocean at Taravel, and you got Riptide, Whitecap, Underdogs 2. There's a lot going on in the Sunset and more to come. I brought the first ever Sunset Night Market last fall. We're going to bring that back again this summer. And so it's all about like nightlife. And night entertainment has so many different definitions for everyone. So the night market runs from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Well, that's where families can have nightlife entertainment. If you got a toddler, come on out at 5, 6 o'clock. If you're a teenager, come out at 9 o'clock, right, and get your boba tea. One thing I do want to do in addition to the mainstream night market on Irving Street is I want to create what I'm calling the beach party edition out at Taravel. So if you got a family and you have toddlers, drop them off at grandparents' house and come out to the beach party edition. And when the night market ends at 10 o'clock, you have Riptide and Whitecap and Underdogs and other bars to keep the party going. So we're trying to be as inclusive and innovative as possible. And in a place like the Sunset, where you might not think of being a place for nightlife, but it really is, and a lot is happening. I say the future of San Francisco is through the neighborhoods, especially the Sunset on the west side, because so many exciting things are happening. Even at Hookfish, they want to put together some outdoor video screening and movie screening, which is a great innovative idea, but they're running up against a lot of bureaucracy and hurdles and permit problems, so my office is helping them shepherd through all that, because we want to cut the red tape and roll out the red carpet when it comes to good ideas. If you're an entrepreneur, I want to give you as much runway as possible with your good idea, because we don't know which good idea is going to save our local economy, but we want to make sure that we're attracting all the people with the ideas to come to San Francisco and give it a try, and be the place where we create the best of everything, the best San Francisco, and I'll say the best Sunset. So come on out and visit us in the Sunset. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. The Sunset kind of sucks. I don't know. Maybe just stay home. Just kidding, I live out there. Anyway, thank you so much. All right, so now we are going to hear from Sarah Dennis Phillips, who is the Executive Director of the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. Thanks, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here today. San Francisco's nightlife and entertainment sector has always been critical to our city's economy. Pre-pandemic, nightlife generated over $6 billion in economic impact and employed over 64,000 people. We know many of you are facing very real challenges today. According to the Comptroller's Office, the leisure and hospitality sector remains down over 20,000 jobs from that peak of 64,000 as compared to before the pandemic. Part of our goal in being present here today, myself and Ben Van Houten, sitting right up here in the front row, is to learn from you how we can not only return to, but grow that level of impact in the future. Make no mistake, your work is vital to the continued economic recovery, both of downtown and of all our neighborhoods, even the Sunset. Your venues, bars, events, restaurants, and festivals have always been one of the biggest reasons people come to San Francisco, not just to visit, but to live and to work. And while San Francisco is changing and adapting in a lot of ways after the pandemic, the importance of nightlife to our city hasn't changed. In fact, that night experience matters more than ever. Residents and visitors that are participating in our city now are coming because they want to come, not because they have to. And so having magnets like our nightlife and entertainment sector is what is going to help us draw people back and continue to draw them to San Francisco. We know many of you have been deeply impacted by the structural changes to our city. Who lives here, who comes here, when they come here, how. And those are structural changes facing a lot of American cities. They're a very big deal. You add to that concerns about public safety, inflation, increased costs, and the difficulty finding waivers, and that's a whole lot for this sector to adjust to. We're really aware. Mayor Breed is committed to the sector. You heard her words at the beginning. Mayor Breed's roadmap to San Francisco's future, which is kind of our blueprint for how we're moving forward post-pandemic, has 9 strategies to guide us out and forward. One of the really critical ones, is transforming downtown into a leading arts, culture, and nightlife destination. So nightlife, arts, and entertainment are key pieces of our strategy for recovery citywide. Since last year's industry summit, we've worked to implement a variety of the tools that you told us you needed, right? Programs that'll make it easier and more affordable for all of you to do your work. The mayor mentioned jams, which we're excited about. Late last year in 2023, with the mayor's leadership, we adopted over 100 changes to the planning code to improve small business startups and permitting moving forward. Most recently, last Friday, the mayor announced new legislation to waive fees for outdoor community events. We're continuing to work on ways to invest in local nightlife and entertainment and create new tools to empower all of you. So keep an eye out for a couple more announcements, maybe even this week. Over the last several years, we've also advocated at the state level on tools that we heard from you were needed. That went from liquor licensing reform for music venues to protecting alcohol service in parklets to the ability to designate entertainment zones to transform public spaces in California. As we try to find new ways to support arts and entertainment in San Francisco, my ask is that you keep bringing us your ideas, share your challenges, and work with us to identify new opportunities that we might be missing. It's our hope that your voice will deliver real results for this city, and I can say on behalf of OEWD and pretty much everyone in the city here, we are listening and we're ready to move those forward. Just to land on a little bit more of an upbeat topic, I want to close by acknowledging another important role that this sector plays beyond our economy. The work that you all do is a vital source of joy and fun for our city. And believe it or not, that's part of our economic recovery too. San Francisco has to be fun. We need places for people to gather. We need reasons for people to celebrate as we emerge out of the challenges for the last several years. It's important to our economy, it's important to our civic pride, and it's important to the community that you help us bring together. You're the ones that do bring us together, so thank you for that work, and thank you for being here today. And I want to thank the Entertainment Commission for letting us have a few words. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, now the moment we've all been waiting for. We are going to hear from the two Bens. So if you don't know them, you will know them now. So this is Ben Van Houten from the Office of Economic and Workforce Development, as well as Ben Blyman, who is our commission president. And they will be giving you an overview of innovating after dark, harnessing the potential of legislative reforms for San Francisco nightlife. So welcome the Bens.
Check, check. Check, check. All right. Ben, doesn't innovating after dark sound like a
No,
like something on Cinemax?
No.
A little bit to me.
No.
Again, it was nice to hear that the moment you've all been waiting for is to listen to the two Bens. I'm pretty sure that is the first and last time that'll ever be said about the two of us. But we did want to introduce ourselves. So I'm Ben Blyman. I'm the president of the Entertainment Commission. I've owned 12 bars in the city of San Francisco. We just bought Harrington's downtown, so that's the only one we have now. And I've done a lot of events around town, a lot of advocacy for nightlife, and have been on the Entertainment Commission for at least 5 years now, I think. Maybe more. I have no idea. And then, Ben, why don't you tell them a little about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Ben Van Houten from the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. I have worked in business development to support the nightlife and entertainment sector for almost 11 years now, which is crazy. But nice to see a whole bunch of familiar faces and some new ones as well, and looking forward to talking with all of you more, hopefully, during and around this summit, and of course, anytime beyond that. So yeah.
I just want to give a little plug for Ben and what he does, because he's probably like the duck on where the feet are going underneath the pond, but you don't see what's happening on the top. And so he's as close to what you would call as a nightmare that we would have in the city, though he's not necessarily the face of nightlife. Behind the scenes, he has been almost literally responsible with OAWD and his team for almost every good piece of legislation and zoning change that's happened in the last 10 years. And he would never admit it because he's very shy and humble, but I just want to give him some credit for that. So thank you, Ben.
So much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about some innovative things that are happening, and we're going to try to keep it focused on just a few kind of big ticket items that are coming down the pike right now that might help the city of San Francisco to help the nightlife and help the hospitality industry to recover faster. I really believe in what Sarah Dennis Phillips said, which is that San Francisco, in order to recover, in order to be a place where people are going to bring economic activity, are going to bring jobs, et cetera, it has to be a place that people want to go to, right? And I've never heard it put that way, or they don't have to, and it's very literal because they don't have to work in the offices anymore, right? But so we have to focus on making it a place that people want to come to. And I truly believe that nightlife will actually be the engine that brings our city back. I think it will be the main engine, as well as housing would help as well. But I think that once our nightlife has always been so resilient. It's always been so forward thinking, and it's drawn people to the city in giant numbers. And we need to lean into that right now to make it happen. So I think kind of the way this is going to work is we're going to go through kind of 3 different categories of innovative things that are happening. I've got the explainer-in-chief over here, who will kind of give us the best knowledge that we have about what it is, and then we'll just talk about it a little bit and how it might be used. Hopefully at the end of this, we'll save some time for questions. So I'm sure we can do 5, maybe 10 minutes of questions at the end. So if something comes to your mind, just percolate on it, and we'll call you out at the end. So let's start with...
Sure. Should we talk entertainment zones, since
Yeah.
that's already come up a few times? And just when everybody's about to fall asleep, that's when you're going to jump in and say, okay.
Yeah.
this
I'll
is
make a
how-
joke.
No, but so the idea of entertainment zones is a little bit of a misnomer, because it's not directly about providing entertainment, although it is about providing and enhancing outdoor social spaces. So the idea is that, so last year, Senator Wiener authored SB 76, which defined this idea of entertainment zones, specifically for San Francisco. And the idea is that the Board of Supervisors can now designate by an ordinance, so they can adopt an ordinance designating an area as an entertainment zone, which will allow restaurants, bars, breweries, wineries, distilleries in those zones to sell to-go open containers, non-metal, non-glass open containers during specified hours on specified days during special events adjacent to the zone, special events permitted by ABC that are adjacent to the zone. This is new for California, and actually SB 76 was originally going to apply statewide, but it got limited in committee to only San Francisco. So we are really at the cutting edge of this with other cities around the state watching to see how we actually implement this and what actually happens. And there is pending state legislation to make it go citywide and to also remove some of the, fine-tune some of the requirements of it. This is not a unique concept in the United States. Actually, over a dozen states have some sort of framework where in downtowns and other districts in North Carolina and Michigan and Ohio and elsewhere, restaurants and bars can sell to-go beverages for people to walk around, sometimes in conjunction with outdoor events and festivals, and sometimes just 7 days a week between specified hours. So it's new. It's new for us. It's not new. It's not new overall. It has been, I think, a fair amount of work to unpack exactly how this is going to operate. In part because we're talking about like local and state dynamics, right? It's a local process to designate entertainment zones, but ultimately it unlocks a state privilege for restaurants and bars. And so the city would designate a zone, but it would be each of the individual businesses within that zone that would get some sort of additional benefit. So figuring out the state and local pieces, and also this idea of how do you manage a zone if ultimately you're trying to empower all the businesses, all the individual businesses in the zone to act responsibly. So those are some of the different considerations. So I think we are getting close on thinking about a framework for these zones, how it would work. There is the wrinkle in the existing law that these zones can only operate in conjunction with ABC permitted special events. So it's not like you can just have like a walking beer just to walk around a downtown or some other area. It has to be in conjunction with an event, which, there are a wide variety of annual and recurring events that happen all the time. Does it make sense to have an entertainment zone with those events, or does that entertainment zone, how does that impact the economics of events that can understandably rely on alcohol sales as one of the kind of key pieces of it? If you're also adding restaurants and bars on the corridor, how does that impact the ability to do the events? So I think one lens is through, are there existing events where an entertainment zone would make sense? And then another sort of different direction is, how does this help facilitate the creation of new events, especially events created by businesses along the corridors? Like if the ability of a group of restaurants or bars that are all near each other, if the ability to sell to-go beverages out into the common square, if that makes a street closure, if that makes a new festival viable, then that, I think, could be a really valuable use of an entertainment zone as well.
Yeah, so let me, that's really helpful. So let me explain why I love this. So first of all, in the past, if you wanted to sell alcohol outside from your business, it was pretty much impossible before COVID, right? And then COVID came along, they kind of relaxed some of the structures. But even when you had an event like a fair on Union Street or a street fair or something else, even if alcohol was permitted at that event, somebody would have to come in with a tent, and it was almost never one of the local businesses there, right? So in the past, it was like a bunch of carnies slinging Heineken that nobody wanted. Then people got clever to craft beer, right? And so oftentimes also for certain events, Union Street Fair, I was thinking, they would literally make anybody who wanted to have alcohol be in a cage. I mean, it was a literal cage, right? So they bring in a tent of people from outside of the businesses selling a product that these businesses sell right next door and don't get to benefit from, outside at least, and then made everybody stay in this. So this would allow you, for an event, to actually permit an entire large swath of an area, and then also for the businesses who are along that corridor to sell within the rules, non-glass, not breakable, to-go beverages, and it's any alcohol, right, to go. So that's pretty cool. The other reason I really, really like it is because it's super flexible, or it should be, And the caveat being it comes along with this special permit. And this is where the ABC kind of threw a wrench in everything, because we were hoping that you could just designate a zone and then it would just be okay to have alcohol there. But the definition of what a special event is kind of TBD. Is that correct?
Yeah,
We're still working on it.
It's one of the pieces that, so figuring out with, and in fairness to ABC, this wasn't their idea. This was the legislative process, playing out to narrow the bill. I think, so there are local questions about how we implement it that we are still figuring out. I think there are questions with ABC about special event permitting and how that plays out, and how that still to figure out. I do think that, so if legislation passes this year, if SB 969 passes, the special event piece goes away.
Oh, yeah, well, we haven't explained that
yeah,
yet.
yeah.
So SB 76 allowed all of this. SB 969, which is Scott Wiener's new bill, which is currently making its way through the process, would clarify some of these issues and would also expand this statewide.
That's right. I mean, I think ultimately the things for people to be thinking about now are, like, if you're a business located in a commercial corridor, like, can you and your neighbors, would you benefit from an entertainment zone? And then would you benefit enough to make implementing a zone, thinking about responsible management, thinking about the different pieces of infrastructure that might be required, whether it is a street closure, thinking about potential insurance requirements, what are the public safety impacts or concerns to be thinking through, and what are the conversations to be having with your police district station. How have you operated outdoor events in the past? I think, to me, while the details are still being figured out, and if this year is a sort of a pilot phase for next year, if the current pending state legislation passes, I think this is the time to be thinking among communities, like, where are the opportunities? Like, could we do something really interesting on our block or on our 2 blocks or in our alley or in a plaza that we're all surrounding? Like, what would it take to be creative, and how can the revenue potential of an entertainment zone, like, what is that? What could we do with that? What could we, how could we turn that into by selling to-go beverages, can we have performances? Does it make performances out on the street viable? Or does it support performances inside? I mean, I think just thinking about those dynamics and trying to identify if it's right for your block, for your corridor, that to me is that's work that's going to take a while to figure out anyway. So I would encourage people to get started on thinking about that now.
Yeah, so let's say you're sitting in the audience, you think, I would love to have an entertainment zone. That's great. I get people come up to me all the time and go, we're going to go for it on Irving. We're going to go for it here or there. So first of all, whom are you going to do it with, right? Are there a number of businesses on your block that could join together? How are you going to pay for it, right? There are going to be permitting costs associated, especially if there's a street closure. Hopefully not that many, and the mayor's done an incredible job of kind of reducing some of those costs, but there probably will be some. And then what neighbors do you need to talk to now to kind of get out ahead of it, to kind of float the idea? We all know that neighbors and nightlife do not always get along perfectly. That's part of the reason that we exist. And if you just throw this out there a couple months from now or 6 months from now and say this is happening, and they haven't heard about it, they're going to lose their minds, as they always do, right? And so how can you get ahead of it? What neighborhood groups can you partner with? What community organizations can you partner with? That will help to, we can't guarantee it's going to happen by any means, but that will certainly help to take down some of the barriers that you might face if your first impetus or impulse was just to be like, we're doing this, it's going to happen, like it or not. Right?
Yeah, because ultimately it will, whether it's this year or under next year's legislation, the board has to pass an ordinance to create an entertainment zone. So if you have vociferous neighbor resistance, that's going to make it hard, very difficult to get that done. Not impossible, but that's going to be a challenge in terms of coming up with an ordinance. So I think it's a really exciting new tool that, again, a lot is still being figured out now, but certainly something for folks to be thinking about and organizing around.
Yeah, this has the potential to fundamentally transform our city. It won't happen overnight, but if you can imagine 10, 15, 20 of these, 30, 40, 50, and then more and more and more, And then, you have outdoor events that are benefiting the businesses that are directly nearby. That's a huge coup for nightlife, and it adds a whole new set of customers that couldn't necessarily fit in your business or wouldn't be in there during the event time anyway. So I think it's fantastic. Scott Wiener is just an incredible leadership on this. Ben was working really hard on it, so this is something that has me very excited. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. The next one was Type 90
Yeah.
licenses, which we think it's really important to discuss here. And this, I'm going to let Ben explain it to you, but it essentially allows a venue that has music to switch their license type to a over-the-counter license, which would allow them to be all ages venue without the requirement of pretending they are a restaurant in order to do that. So Ben, can you?
Yeah. So the Type 90 license came about a couple of years ago, but was enhanced by SB 76, the same bill that did the entertainment zones, in a way that I think is really important and actually transforms the viability of it for business owners. So the idea is that traditionally, and you all know this more than anybody, but if you want to serve beer, wine, and spirits, you're either a restaurant or a bar. And if you're a restaurant, you can admit patrons of all ages, but you have to meet the food service requirements. If you're a bar, you don't have to meet the food service requirements, but you can't admit people under 21, which creates this really challenging place for anybody who wants to create a space where young people can see concerts, which is a real challenge. The Type 90 license is different from a 47 and a 48 in a couple of different capacities, and Ben got to them. But the idea is, if you run what the state calls a music entertainment facility, so you have a defined performance area, a defined audience space, you have a PA system, lighting rig, you have people who are employed in music venue roles, right? Either in a talent booking or security or front of house, those sorts of capacities. If you check all of those boxes and you can serve alcoholic beverages, beer, wine, spirits, to ticket holders 2 hours before through 1 hour after live music entertainment events. So that license, there's no food service requirement. That license can also be, as Ben mentioned, you can apply directly to ABC for that license. So you can get out of the secondary market for liquor licenses, provided that you meet those requirements and you're really offering, a bona fide entertainment venue experience. So for new venue operators, that means, again, you don't have to find a 47 or a 48 and shoehorn yourself into one of those business models.
So 47s right now are something like 100, call it 150 grand, 48 something like 180 grand right now on the market. And this is how much to apply for this?
I think it's currently $19,000.
So 19,000. So it's a huge money savings if you're a new operator. And if you're an existing venue that this works for, you can switch and you can sell your old license.
Yeah. So you would apply directly for a new Type 90. You have the ability to exchange your license, but don't do that, because that means you're giving up. Exchange means you're giving up your 47 or your 48 to get a 90, which is the fact that is even allowed is, I think, that's a challenge. But you would apply directly for a new 90, and obviously the challenge there is you're applying for a new liquor license. And if you're a business that's had a liquor license for 40, 50 plus years, you're posting a sign in the window again, you're going through a board public convenience or necessity process again, or maybe for the first time, you are opening yourself up to potential neighbor feedback and other concerns while you go through that process. But I think I would encourage folks to do some research and thinking about whether this makes sense for them. You can operate with your 47 or your 48 while you have that Type 90 application pending. So see where it goes. That's one possibility. The other possibility is, again, just to do that pre-work around your neighbors, any other sort of potential other stakeholders there. It's really there are about 40 Type 90 applications around the state right now. I think a little under half of them are in San Francisco, so there's already some folks in the room, I would assume, who either have or are applying for a Type 90, but it's definitely something for for people to consider, because we want more music venues. And we want existing music venues to not have to jump through hoops that don't make sense for
Did
them.
they sort out the provisions for private parties?
Yeah,
yet?
thank you. So SB 76 fixed private events. So it wasn't clear whether you could hold a private event or not with a Type 90 before this legislation that was signed into law in October. Now you can have private events, which means unlike, so with regular concerts with a Type 90, you're advertising them. They're open to the public. They have entertainment performances, all that. With private events, you can have private events that don't need to meet any of those requirements, as long as, again, they are truly private events, and as long as the number of entertainment events every year exceeds the number of private events, and there are record-keeping requirements and other requirements around that. So, so yes, that was a big, so if you had first heard about the Type 90 a couple years ago and you said, well, wait a minute, this private events are an important part of my business, and this screws that up. No, that has been fixed, and so private events are now possible, which again, I think it's just a really interesting new option. And final thought on that before maybe we go somewhere else. It was also confusing at the outset. A Type 90 application would go to the planning department, and planners would, I think, understandably say, wait, I'm used to 47s and 48s, what's a 90? Recent work at the board, the legislation led by the Office of Small Business to reform over 100 planning code, fix over 100 things in the planning code. One of the things that was fixed was clarifying a Type 90 in the code. So if entertainment is principally permitted in your district, Type 90 is principally permitted in your district. In many parts of the city, you're not going to need to jump through additional hoops or restrictions for a 90.
So this might sound a little wonky, but it's a really big deal for certain parts of the entertainment industry. So first of all, if you're operating a venue that is currently masquerading as a restaurant, so that you can have all ages, this would not only give you an option to switch that over, but to have a huge kind of windfall as you sell your Type 47 license. Again, no, this is, it's only able to be used around performances, so it's really for venues. It's not for somebody who wants to pretend they're a venue. Then you would be limited from your Type 90 to just 2 hours before and 1 hour after in private events. And then what I'm really hoping is, because we're seeing entertainment venues close at an alarming rate right now in the city, especially kind of old legacy clubs are just kind of dropping like flies right now, and it's kind of terrifying, that this would actually be a wonderful way to encourage new people to come in and plant their flag. When it's $170,000 just for a liquor license, it's a hard thing to think about. When it's 19, the numbers are different. So this could be a very effective tool in our toolbox for increasing entertainment and making venues more successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, finally, cannabis. Right?
That's the question.
Yeah,
okay.
cannabis.
Very good.
Are we
Sure.
ready? So there's some really fun and interesting and innovative things in the cannabis space coming down the line. One is a second shot by Assembly Member Haney to license what he is calling cannabis cafes. And this would allow not only existing dispensaries who have lounges to sell things other than cannabis, which, by the way, right now they are prohibited from doing. The only thing they're allowed to sell in dispensaries is the drug. They can't sell...
and merch, right?
And merch, yeah, merch. They can't sell food. They can't sell a non-alcoholic beverage that doesn't have cannabis in it. All of that is prohibited. So this would give a lifeline to existing dispensaries with lounges to kind of add a coffee shop, add a jazz club, sell some croissants and muffins, some kava, whatever they can come up with to kind of innovate. It also potentially would allow standalone cannabis cafes to pop up that were actually that weren't attached to an existing dispensary. And you could imagine, instead of a bar, it's a cannabis cafe. So you go in and they serve cannabis and coffee, and there's some jazz music or some DJ music or something going on in there. So another exciting thing that is currently very, very much prohibited by state law.
Yeah, so AB 1775 is Assemblymember Haney's bill. A different version of this bill was vetoed last year by the governor around concerns around the health of workers in cannabis dispensaries, which is something that I know the Assembly member is committed to working on the language to find a workable approach. You know, as you had mentioned, and you know, we've seen several dispensaries get entertainment permits and start offering entertainment, which I think is great. That's really exciting. In terms of providing a pathway for folks to sell tickets to entertainment events, that's something that AB 1775 would allow, and it would allow, again, this idea of selling non-prepackaged food and non-alcoholic beverages in the cannabis dispensary context. So, you know, being able to pour a cup of coffee as opposed to only selling a bottled beverage, which, you know, again, could provide a variety of amenities and more creative experiences, including, you know, add some non-cannabis elements to the consumption space environment in a way that I think is really interesting and could be very beneficial for creating new performance opportunities.
Yeah. So this is another thing to watch. Very flexible. So it'd be interesting if it does pass to see how enterprising, innovative minds use it. You could imagine a full Michelin star restaurant, for example, that had a cannabis instead of wine, right? That people were able to consume cannabis. There's all sorts of different interesting things to think about, especially around music, I think, because I've been told that music sounds better when you're on cannabis. All right, and also in the cannabis space, Ben, tell us about how we put on an outdoor cannabis event right now. It's a trick question.
Yeah.
You don't.
Is anybody from the Office of Cannabis here? Yeah, awesome. So the Office of Cannabis can speak to this far better than I can. But one of the things that we have been working together on is thinking about cannabis events and how they. So there's currently a pilot program with a limited number of outdoor cannabis events that are permitted to offer cannabis sales and consumption every year. There has been some movement at the state level. It used to be that a business with a liquor license couldn't do cannabis events, period. My understanding is that has changed a little to, if there is a local program to allow it, you could temporarily suspend your liquor license and do a cannabis event. To be very clear, there is currently no local program, I think maybe even anywhere in the state to allow that.
Something we could work on, but again, just to tamp down expectations, consumption of cannabis indoors, especially the smoking or vaping of it, is always going to be very, very challenging. So that will always need to meet the state criteria, which is basically having like one of those the indoor skydiving fans that you flipped upside down. Like that's the level of ventilation that the state requires. But for places that have outdoor spaces, for events that are outdoors regularly, there's definitely a potential option coming forward, which needs to be codified, but to maybe surrender a liquor license associated with that space and allow people to consume cannabis there instead, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, there's some state stuff to figure out. There's some local stuff to figure out. And that's the through line through I think all of these is that, you know, we're getting to a place where trying to figure out where the gap is between, you know, you can't do this because there are good reasons not to do this, and then you can't do this because you can't do this. And so figuring out where that gap is and how to responsibly implement any of these things. I mean, I think that's the through line for all three of these topics we've been discussing.
Yeah. So those are kind of the exciting things that we saw coming down the pike. We do have about 5 minutes here, so I'm going to see if there's any questions from the audience. Dylan will come by if you raise your hand, if that works, Dylan, right?
Real quick. So the Type 90, if we apply for the Type 90, we have an existing 48 now. So while we're applying, we still have our 48, and we do open our doors up for public comment from the residents. But we still have our 48. Now, if we get denied the 90, we still got our 48. Or now, when you say open the door to residents to oppose us, does that put our 48 in jeopardy?
I was speaking when I believe that that's just about the application process for the new liquor license. Now, obviously, somebody could, you know, I mean, people can complain about a licensed establishment at any time, right? They can, you know, call ABC to complain. But I was speaking just within the context of, you know, you're going on this application path, and that's public comment, public feedback on the application itself. However, I would also say, talk with a liquor license attorney about any, like, don't just take this presentation as your only information on this subject.
I have a completely separate question. For enhancing the nightlife, is the city going to do anything about late night public transportation? Because that is really tough at the moment.
That's a great question.
That is a great question. A great question means there's no easy answers, right? Is that the idea? But not that you were looking for an easy one. But, you know, I think, so, you know, over the years and prior to the pandemic, again, folks in this room may have been involved in the late night transportation work, may have taken surveys several years ago. You know, we put together a couple of reports that looked at worker paths of travel overnight and tried to map those against the available transportation services. I think that is work that, as the city is continuing to recover, we need to pick back up. I think that, you know, given where transit agencies right now are in terms of like funding challenges, like you know, like everybody, that's maybe a longer term strategy. But I mean, it's, you know, yeah, it's an inescapable one, right? It's one of the top challenges. I don't know, Ben. Do you have a?
I mean, this is, you know, good cities create mass transit 24/7 first, and then the people follow. When they start to run into funding issues, they start to cut the least used lines. Now, there's an equity argument here, which is very valid, which is that the people who need it the most at those random times are often the most have the most challenges in our community, are the people who are the deck is stacked against them anyway. So I think the only way that we could pull it off in San Francisco, where we lead often with our hearts, is to make that argument over and over again, which is just because there's only 5 people on this bus line, look at the 5 people who are there. They're the 5 people who can least afford to not have a bus that goes where they need to go. But yeah, I mean, the 24/7 economy in the city of San Francisco has been a struggle, right? I think, you know, there was a time, not even 20 years ago, 25 years ago, where a huge portion of our city just truly believed that nothing good takes place after 10 p.m., right? So, you know, New York has always been a 24/7 since it started. And for many of us, we want to get there. We want to get to a place that's more like New Orleans and New York, but that has been a challenge in the city, and making that case doesn't always, you say, we can say it here, everybody nods their heads, but you make it to other people, they go, what are people doing up at that time anyway? Right?
But I think we also need to, you know, again, we did a bunch of data work on this 7 or 8 years ago, and a lot's changed in the ensuing time. And I think that better understanding where the workforce is now, how the lack of late night transportation is, how that's part of the labor shortage challenge that folks are experiencing, how that intersects with other issues that are top of mind for folks. I think that is, the time is right to revisit and refresh to better understand, you know, where are the workers coming from, where are the opportunities, what ridership has improved and what ridership, you know, my impression was that some of the public transit agencies, that nights and weekends rebounded more quickly, right, than the daytime ridership by a percentage number in any event. So I think, no, thank you for raising that. I think it's time to pick that back up.
We maybe have time for one more quick question. Last question. Yep.
Really quick.
Sure.
For the Type 90, would you be able to attach a 58 to that, or no? The
Great question.
off-site catering?
I don't think so. So that's really good. Yeah, you want to, I don't think you can't, because it's generally about offering entertainment performances on your premises or doing a limited number of private events on your premises. If you were going to do off-site catering, then the Type 90, like if that's a big part of your business, then a Type 90 may not be right for you. That's a really, thank you for raising that. That's a great point.
All right. It is 3 o'clock, so we are about ready to go on break. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us while we talked about some exciting things that are coming in our future.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Bens. We will see you back here in 15 minutes. Please enjoy the resource fair and introduce yourself to other city departments. Thank you.
Assistant Chief David Lazar of the San Francisco Police Department. Rodney Fong, President and CEO of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce. And Marissa Rodriguez, CEO of the Union Square Alliance. We're going to be asking a series of 7 questions to the panel, all of which regard the topic, which is the night shift, strategies for combating organized theft in San Francisco. We'll be leaving about 5 to 10 minutes at the end for any questions that want to be asked by the audience. And if you don't have a chance to ask any of the panel today, feel free to follow up with them later. And we'll begin with our first question, which is the question that gets asked during any panel, to any panel. Can each panelist briefly introduce themselves and their role?
All right, I guess I'll kick it off. Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke Jenkins. As most of you likely know, I got appointed by Mayor Breed back in July of 2022. Prior to that, I started in the San Francisco DA's office in 2014 in the misdemeanor unit, handling all types of misdemeanors back then. Spent 3.5 years in our general felonies unit, where I also doubled as the hate crimes prosecutor for most of that time. Worked in our sex assault unit, and then finished up on the line in our homicide unit. And so pretty much seen from top to bottom the types of crime that get committed in this city and what it takes to prosecute those types of crimes. And right now I'm just trying to do my best along with our law enforcement partners to make sure that we address the needs of each and every community, each and every type of business, so that we can get back to having a city that thrives. And so I'm just here to try to talk about that, and of course be of as much support as my office can be to this industry, which we know has been highly affected by the street conditions downtown.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is David Lazar. I'm an assistant chief with the San Francisco Police Department. I'm in my 33rd year with the SFPD. I'm a 4th generation San Franciscan, always wanted to be a police officer, and was lucky enough to be hired right around my 21st birthday. I've risen through the ranks. I've worked in a variety of assignments all over the department. I've been at 8 of the 10 police stations. I've been in investigations for five or six times. I've ran the police academy, worked in special operations. I was a captain for 9 years. Part of those 9 years as a captain, I spent a little time at Southern Station, is when I first started working with the nightlife community and the club owners south of Market. That was in 2008. In 2014, I was assigned to Central Police Station, so worked primarily with folks associated with Broadway and also in Chinatown. I have a lot of experience there. So throughout the years, I've just gone up and up and up, and right now I'm the number 2 in the department, and I'm the chief of operations. So I oversee about 80% of the police department. I have all of patrol citywide, all the investigators, all of special operations, which is like our motorcycles and our SWAT team and Homeland Security, Marine unit, and then the airport. We have officers assigned to San Francisco International Airport. So thank you for the invitation, and I look forward to the conversation.
Good afternoon, everybody. Rodney Fong, also a 4th generation San Franciscan, and I have a very strange background in that I grew up in the Wax Museum at Fisherman's Wharf. My grandfather had opened that in 1962, and literally grew up at the wharf with attractions and amusement things and nightlife included. So became involved in that, and then opened the community benefit district for Fisherman's Wharf. And then Gavin Newsom asked, I was interested in serving on the Port Commission, and served there for 7 years, and then went over to the San Francisco Planning Commission for another 8 years, and then took this role as the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. So have some understanding of small business to big business, and obviously love for San Francisco and nightlife.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you feeling? Is this the last panel of the day? Oh, okay. All right. So I also am a San Franciscan. My name is Marissa Rodriguez. Testing. Okay. And I grew up hanging out in Fisherman's Wharf as well. Should I use that one? but I was an inner city kid playing air hockey in Fisherman's Wharf, growing up here. My background, interestingly, I've had a great career that has crossed paths with everyone on this panel. I didn't realize that would be the case today. I am also a former prosecutor that decided it would be a good idea to regulate the cannabis industry. So I left the DA's office, got into that for a while. I see some faces in that space. And then during the pandemic, realizing that things were not so great for our city, coming out of that, thought it might be a good time to take my background and my passion for the city to help with our downtown recovery. So I've been working at the Union Square Alliance to really try to help bring our downtown back and kind of imagine what our future could be and what that could look like. And really excited to say there's a lot of opportunity, and certainly in the nightlife space. So like a lot of communities, art, nightlife, that energy is what brings community back and brings energy back to life. So we're really excited to have this conversation, and I'm happy to share some of the tools and some of the ways that we're trying to reimagine our spaces and what we think is necessary to have success.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. And our first question really is going to go to Assistant Chief Lazar and DA Jenkins. If you have anything you wish to add, of course, please feel free. Can you discuss any recent trends or patterns in organized theft of ATMs, alcohol, or other property targeting nightlife venues?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. So you mentioned ATM theft, and for a while we had a series where a car would drive through a location and steal the ATM and drive off. I know we made some arrests there. But really, when I think about nightlife and my experience, it really comes down to a couple things. One is really having adequate security to deal with any potential problems that you have. The clubs that have fallen apart, in my opinion, have not had adequate security. And then the next part of that is really, in terms of trends that I've seen, people getting in with weapons and other things, is just really making sure that there's a system in place where, you know, people are being screened before they get into the venues, and they really know the rules of engagement in terms of how to behave when they're in there. Crime-wise, you know, the biggest thing I think about is all the folks that come to visit you and park their cars, and then they get their windows broken and their items taken. We do have an auto burglary problem in San Francisco. That's the bad news. The good news is that we're down considerably in auto burglary. I give a lot of credit to the district attorney to my right, who's been working very hard to make sure that those cases are charged, prosecuted, and folks that are responsible, that are so prolific in auto burglaries, are held in custody. And we see that once they're held in custody, the numbers go way down, because one person's responsible for a lot of auto burglaries. When they're held in custody, it's just a no-brainer. We see that. And then, you know, you have your theft that goes on, the opportunistic crimes that happen in nightclubs and other venues where somebody leaves their purse on the chair, and then there's their phone sticking out of it, and their phone gets taken. Or we see those cases where something gets dropped in someone's drink, and then they report later on something bad happened to them. They don't know how it's happened. So really, you know, you and I have a lot in common. And what we have mostly in common is public safety. And if I'm in your shoes, I'm thinking to myself, you know, how can I attract a lot of business, but also do my very best to keep my business safe, my employees safe, and the patrons safe, so they come back again and have a great experience. And there's so many times we see where that's not the case because the owners aren't really mindful of the topics that I've discussed or that I've mentioned.
The biggest trend that I've heard from folks in this particular industry is really not necessarily what's happening in your establishment, but more so what's happening around your establishment. So either things like auto burglary and those types of crimes, but also just deteriorating street conditions in the area, which has led to other business closures. And then once we have some vacant storefronts in areas that are unattended and don't have a lot of traffic, that they attract other things, right? And we have encampments, and we have drug usage, and we have all sorts of other things going on that then affect your ability to attract customers. And so I just want to say we are certainly working hard to really address street conditions. Most of what you heard is related to the Tenderloin and South of Market right now, because that's sort of the epicenter of it. And so we have the Drug Market Agency Coordination Center, which is the DMAC, which has all of the city agencies responsible for street conditions coming together to really discuss strategies where we are having coordinated strategies, so that once the police assist department, the homeless department with removal of an encampment, that then we have Department of Public Works on the back end coming to clean the area of its debris and trash, that we have Department of Public Health outreach going on at the same time that an encampment is being addressed, so that we're addressing those who are in the encampment, trying to get them resources and into treatment, but that it's all coordinated rather than a one-off siloed approach that, as we all know, has not been effective whatsoever in this city. So that's a lot of what we're trying to do. The DMAC right now, as I said, is addressing Tenderloin and South of Market, but it's designed such that once we sort of get that under control, that this model can be replicated for other parts of the city. So for those of you that are not in either area, don't think we're not paying any attention to you. The work is still going on, and then that coordinated strategy will move as we have the ability to do so once we get this sort of epicenter a little bit more addressed.
Thank you. Okay, our next questioners will be for Marissa and Rodney. Are there any existing community programs or initiatives that you have seen be successful in enhancing safety and security? We'll begin with Marissa.
The police. They've been great. Thank you very much. Yes, let's give them a round of applause. I have to say, so I started the work in Union Square. It was 3 weeks before the mass looting incident, if you all recall. And let me tell you, that was insane. It was an insane time, and it was just so hard to wrap our minds around, like, what is happening, right? We're all coming out of the pandemic, and things are just different, and I don't know what's going on. And the support that we were able to receive from the city, from our police department, it made the world of difference. Without that support, without a real clear police presence in a community policing way, was incredible. It got us through that holiday season and has continued to support us through these very challenging times as we continue to try to figure out how, as a city, we are reimagining our downtowns. And I have to say, first and foremost, it has been the partnership with the police department. Thank you very much. And I know, especially over the last few years, it's been very difficult for the police department to staff up and all of that. I think that's changing now, which is great, and happy to hear that. But of course, resources are not, we don't have all the police officers in the world to support everything that we need. And so we have to kind of think outside the box. And so for Union Square, what is really exciting and lucky for us is I kind of treat it as sort of this glorified HOA. If you're in Union Square, which I hope all of you will come and open businesses, if you're interested, come talk to me. I'd like to talk to you. We provide a full wraparound of support. And so we have a 24-hour dispatch. You can call us if there's any issues. We have ambassadors cleaning our streets regularly throughout the day. So you should always see somebody in blue in the district who is an ambassador, who is a second chance individual, most likely, who is really happy to be there. And we do our best to support our ambassadors, and our ambassadors support our community. So it's really nice. They're cleaning, we're power washing, we have 24-hour security as well, and that support a private organization that we provide in the district. And we also, to kind of bring it full circle, have a mobile command van that I have to say has been one of the best deterrents for us in the district, and something that just brings everyone a feeling of calm when they're either shopping or they're celebrating life's greatest moments, because that's what we do in Union Square. This is where we go to high tea with our mom. This is where we celebrate the holidays. This is where we buy our prom dress. This is where we do everything. Our culture is here in Union Square, so really important to support it. And we are doing everything that we can to continue to support our businesses, especially our small businesses that may not have all the resources. But the opportunities are there, and we're really excited to see actually a real burgeoning nightlife, restaurant, community really start to take foot in the district, and we're looking for more of that food and beverage. So we think that the support that we also offer escort. So if you're in the district and you feel like, oh my God, maybe I'm here for a meeting and it's super late and I need to go to my car and it's late and I don't feel comfortable, you can call the Alliance and we'll provide someone to walk you to your car and that sort of thing. So really, we've thought of almost everything when it comes to that with respect to safety. And there are a lot of other ways that we lean in, but that's probably the biggest.
Great, thank you. I think the ambassador program, which Marissa has been largely involved with, is a really critical piece for Fisherman's Wharf, Chinatown, Union Square, and that's run by a woman named Amanda Hall that really deserves a lot of credit for pulling that all together with the Tourism Improvement District. But eyes on the ground, and I think people and the clustering of people and the cluster of restaurants and bars and open signs of businesses really are our best security methods. So we're starting to see that in the downtown day by day come back, but we need more. We need sort of the concentration of open businesses clustered together, 3 bars on 4 corners, all of that kind of stuff. And people really protect each other. And I think people to some degree, feel safer. I think the biggest missing link, and I'll shift the question a little bit, is still people who live outside of San Francisco that used to come into San Francisco to party and enjoy themselves. We have to collectively rebuild that consumer confidence. That confidence that San Francisco is a great place to be, which we all know, we're all here, but rebuild that, instill that stability. The police department is doing a great job, the DA is doing a great job. We've come a long way, but there's still more to go. But building that confidence is so important.
Great, thank you both. Okay, the next question will be for DA Jenkins and Assistant Chief Lazar. How are law enforcement agencies currently addressing these types of organized crime? DA Jenkins?
Theft? Are we talking about theft?
Yes, specifically theft and also any kind of violence at night.
Okay. So with respect to theft, retail theft, things of that nature, which we've seen become more organized, let me start there, which again leads to this issue of businesses closing their doors and these vacant storefronts. Both of our departments applied for a grant last year, to the state, that the state made available for organized retail theft. Thankfully, we were both successful at obtaining that grant. It gave the police department $15 million, both that goes towards overtime, that goes towards technology that they can purchase and other things. My office got $2 million that we were able to use in order to designate a specific prosecutor just to organize retail theft, as well as an investigator in our office. So they full-time only work on organized retail theft. That has allowed us to do a much better job as a city of addressing these prolific groups who are going out and really still looting stores, even though we don't call it that, but who go in groups of 2, 3, 4 people, sometimes more, masks on, and grab hundreds of pairs of leggings or items off of shelves, purses. Because again, as Assistant Chief said, if we kind of disrupt those who are causing the most problems in the city, we start to see the numbers of those types of crimes plummet, because these are people who are doing this day in and day out, store after store. And really, when you talk about retail theft, they're going county to county doing this at the same stores, and then going usually to sell it on 24th and Mission and other places within the city to fencers. And so we've been able to do a really good job collectively, and thankfully you now have a DA's office and a police department working closely together on these issues to make sure that those are people that we have a targeted approach with, that when they make an arrest and bring us those cases, that we have the ability to do any follow-up investigation necessary so that we can free up their hands to go back out and do what they need to do on the street, and so that our prosecutions are successful, but most importantly, so that when we walk into court at arraignment, we can make the proper recommendation to the court about those who might need to be detained. And so my policy right now is that, look, if you are a part of one of these organized groups doing this, and this is, planned activity, coordinated activity, more dangerous activity, because when you talk about people going in groups and what that what fear that creates among customers, what fear it creates among the store employees. These folks are now often far more violent when they are approached by security guards and store employees. We have to make sure that those are the people that we say, public safety is at risk. We can't let you just be back out on the street tomorrow. And so that is, I think, why we've been more successful at being able to disrupt some of what's going on. Thankfully, we do see those numbers coming down. And then when it comes to auto burglary, which is another very organized effort, it used to be when I was in misdemeanors and general felonies, more one-off auto burglars. We saw a shift at some point when the numbers started to skyrocket that these are crews going around, sometimes committing 15 to 20 auto burglaries a day. It's their full-time employment, basically. And so to the extent that we can disrupt that and again, keep the more prolific crews off the street, we see those numbers decline. And I'm thankful to the police department for investing resources in this again and having a very strategic effort at abating auto burglary. And ever since that announcement and the bait car and the strategic placement of officers in the more high auto burglary areas, we have seen more arrests for this crime. We've seen bigger deterrence, and it's allowed us to really do our jobs in the DA's office more effectively because they've been able to bring us some of these crews. And so I think that's the difference that we're seeing is, again, coordinated efforts, direct strategy to address specific types of crimes that are really overwhelming our city. That, again, if I'm choosing between San Jose, Walnut Creek, or San Francisco to go out one night, I'm thinking of these things. Do I want to park my car in San Francisco? Do I feel safe enough once I park my car to then walk to the establishment? We have to make sure that people aren't stressing out about those things so that they choose us and not San Jose, right? And so I think that's what we are seeing a lot of progress on.
Okay, and what I'd like to add is to the question, and really what I think you should know as a owner of a business or establishment in the city, three areas, three categories. I want to talk about staffing, technology, and our strategy. So staffing in our department. So it's no secret that the San Francisco Police Department, we're down 500 police officers. That's very significant for a major city like ours. We should be at around 2,100 sworn. We're 500 below that. So that's the not so good news. And what that does is that means, that's less people on foot, less officers on foot patrol, engaging with the businesses and having a visible presence, or bicycle patrol, or our community engagement strategies, or community policing. Some of that gets put to the side because we need officers to handle 911 calls and be in the cars. And that prevents us from getting to know the community, and there's all these downsides. The good news is, for the first time in maybe 6 or 7 years, we had 3,000 applications last year, 3,000. We've had about 900 year to date. We have around 450 people in the queue right now going through backgrounds, trying to get into the academy. And so we're turning that around. We're working really hard to get 50 in an academy class next month. This will be the biggest class we've had in all those years. We're going to hire lateral officers who are interested, who work in other cities that want to come work in San Francisco. We have a big pool of applicants there. And then we're going to try to go for another 50 in August and keep on going. The academy's about 8 months, so we're not going to realize this on the streets until next year. But this is good news. This means that more people are interested in the profession and they want to come in and help people and work in San Francisco. So we're excited about that. We've been making ends meet with overtime. And, this generation of officers, these young officers, is not really about the money. They want their time off. They want a little bit of freedom, and we've made them work because we have to make sure we have enough officers. Now, in terms of, the DA talked about this grant that we received. We're very grateful. I'm not talking politics because I can't, but there was a ballot, Proposition E. If you lived in San Francisco, you may have voted for it. 54% of the population did. Game changer for San Francisco, for the police department. Why? Because it allowed us to now use technology to do our work. A couple areas. So for your businesses, public safety cameras. So a lot of private businesses have had cameras. I know Union Square and Marissa's led that effort, kind of been the model for the city in Union Square with all their cameras. But now we could have public safety cameras on public property and poles so that we can see what's going on and what's happening. Number 2 is drones. It gives us the ability, with a lot of less red tape, to put drones up. You know, a lot of cities in California are using drones as a first responder. Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Chula Vista, cities up north where the 911 call comes over, and before the dispatcher can hang the phone up, that drone's already responding to the call, and within a minute, they're already overseen, waiting for the officers to arrive, calling things in. Drone technology. So we're gonna be moving in this direction. Automated license plate reader. Can you raise your hand if you've heard the term automated license plate reader, ALPR? Okay, a lot of people in the room. By a company called Flock. So the mayor cut the ribbon. We were all there. 9th and Irving was our first camera of all places. 9th and Irving, kind of funny. I'm from the west side. But I didn't choose that location, but just kind of a good spot. So now we're building out 400 cameras. And we are, every day, we're putting cameras up. So where you can't really, you know, by June, you can't really drive around San Francisco and be wanted, have a stolen vehicle, have a stolen plate without getting detected. I have this thing up now in my office, my other screen, where it just beeps all day. And I look at it, oh, there's a stolen car on Mission and Silver. Beep, oh, there's a stolen car, Bay and Kearny. And we're connected with Bay Area cities. So you're wanted for homicide out of Oakland, you come over here, we detect you. This is a game changer. For people who want to come to your businesses and commit crimes and drive away, we are going to be, for the first time in San Francisco's history, being able to track that way. Okay, so that's technology. And the last thing I'll say is strategy. Retail theft, we've been doing very well, apprehending prolific retail theft people. But I'll land by saying that we're going to be building some teams pretty soon that all they're going to be doing is going after folks that are engaged in that. And then the auto burglaries, thank you, DA, because yes, we're going to be using drone technology to watch the hotspots and also continue to use other strategies to arrest those that have been involved in those crimes. So thank you.
And I will add, actually, the coordination of the two. We've seen a huge decrease in retail crime in our community as well, especially the organized, you know, the mass sort of looting attempts. That's gone down. Knock on wood. I'm like, ugh. But yes, it's been wonderful, and I really appreciate that. Makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference for businesses wanting to come and locate in Union Square. And we are starting to see a number of businesses come back to the square. Lots of high luxury retail and all that stuff. They rely on the safety, and so thank you for providing that. It's a game changer.
Great, thank you. That's a great discussion. Okay, question number 5 will be for Marissa and Rodney. Are there specific strategies or technologies that have been effective in decreasing or preventing crime that has targeted nightlife businesses? We'll begin with Rodney.
Yeah, I think what Assistant Chief Lazar just explained about technology, and it's kind of a shame that we live here in the land of technology and we're not using it to our fullest advantage. I'll be the first one in the room that is maybe concerned about privacy, but it's just so important right now in the phase that we're at and with the human power that we have or lack thereof that we use these technologies. Was able to go to Mexico City and see their command center in Mexico City. My gosh, it's just amazing. The fire department, the police department, the 911 is all in the same area. If there's an earthquake, it actually stemmed from, because Mexico City is a seismic fault as well. And they wanted to be able to respond quickly, but how fast they're able to deploy, life or death, seconds, minutes, and they're able to deploy people. So I think we're in a place where we can get there. I am glad that the voters of San Francisco really stepped up and want this technology. If not for them, for their family members, their kids, whomever. And so I think that's the most important tool. I'll pass it on.
I would just add to that I really think about what it prevents for us. We've had cameras now for some time, and actually about 75% of our district, 27 city blocks, is covered by camera technology. We do have the ability as well to do the license plate readers. We have not yet triggered that now, but we will be. But what the cameras do for us really is actually help prevent. I mean, it can be anything. It can be car accidents or, you know, something happened to somebody, maybe they dropped their cell phone and they want to know kind of where it went, or whatever insurance claim, or we get all sorts of things. And actually, it's kept us very honest as well. You know, we are supposed to be out there cleaning and power washing. If we miss a day, we roll back tape, and there it is, whether we did it or we didn't. You know, and these things are, it's more than just, you mentioned sort of the privacy thing. It's also just making life sort of just easier for all of us. When I think about the drones, for example, I know we've had situations with juveniles who are maybe speeding through the district or doing stuff that kind of impacts the safety of community around us. And I know the police department does not want to be chasing them because they don't want to put anyone else at risk, but drones can go and follow them and make sure they're not harming other people. There's just a lot of really good things that this technology does, and I know that there have been sensitivities around technology, but so far I have to say it's only been positive for us. Lighting is always really important as well. We are really good about trying to light up all of our alleys and really activate them and make them a place for business to thrive, to do things outside, whether it's dancing, music, you name it, we're open to that. What's good about Union Square is we don't have a lot of residents. That's also bad about Union Square because it makes it difficult to make it through a pandemic. But that said, it means there's not going to be a lot of complaints, so we can make a lot of noise. So that's good. So come make a lot of noise in my district.
If I could add one trend that I'm kind of curious what everyone else thinks. I've seen some private security that have their own canine units and just dogs alongside security guards. I'm not sure if that like helps in a deterrent way, if they really are put to action, or they just brought their pets to work. I'm not sure, but just kind of want to bring that up.
No, I think so. Definitely, definitely. I would say so. That's kind of been a new thing now with the dogs and security and all that. And of course, we've had dogs for a long time, right? Quick question. Can you raise your hand if you, along the lines of what Marissa was talking about, if you have a camera system in your business? Okay, so most. So you get what we're saying. And I'm going to say that for many cases, we would not make those cases and be able to give them to our district attorney had it not been for video, surveillance video, or video coverage, historical footage. It makes all the difference. So I'm glad you do. The other thing I want to say along safety is crime prevention through environmental design. I mean, have you had a survey done to your business where a professional comes out and says, to Marissa's point, you need lighting, you need this door lock, you need this change, this window, these bars, or this, where you're really trying to harden the target, trying to fortify your business from burglaries and other things. And I want to throw out to you that we had an organization, past tense, called SF Safe. It doesn't exist anymore. We, the San Francisco Police Department, have taken on that role and responsibility through our community engagement division called the Neighborhood Safety Team. We come out and do those surveys. neighborhoodsafety@sfgov.org is the email, neighborhoodsafety@sfgov.org. We can come out and provide that service.
And especially when you're talking about incidents that may occur right outside of your establishment. Now, as a line prosecutor, most of the cases that I got that were connected to a nightlife establishment were often stabbings, assaults, shootings, things of that nature, right? A lot of intoxicated people coming out, things happen. Right now, we are at a point in time in this, society of people understanding that there generally are cameras almost everywhere. And so juries expect video surveillance evidence. We have a lot of tech workers in this city, and they are people who love to see concrete evidence of things. And so if you are one of those folks who did not raise your hand to the question of do you have cameras, making sure that you have cameras outside of your establishment helps us tremendously in making sure that we have appropriate accountability when things get out of control outside, so that we can make sure you have a safe environment for people to come and enjoy themselves. But it's really difficult to prove a case to a jury, especially on something like an assault, where they don't have video evidence. It also helps us verify if somebody says, I was engaged in self-defense, right? And maybe they shouldn't be charged. It really helps us not have to just go word for word if we have video surveillance evidence that shows us what exactly happened. And so I would just be one of those proponents of making sure you get a camera for not just inside, but also outside.
Great, thank you. We're going to go right for the last 5 minutes to the questions from the audience to the panel. If anyone has a question, the staff will either come over. Yep, we'll come around to you.
Hi, I'm also a San Francisco native, and I've been in business for 33 years. I'm glad to hear about the technology and the big boost in hiring. I'm wondering if beat cops will become a thing again once you've staffed up, because being in business for 33 years, the only deterrent, the only one, beat cops.
Yeah, so...
Not bike cops, beat cops.
No, I understand. Not bike cops, because when it's bike cops, they just pedal past your business. But you... Okay, I'll pause. I'll pause. Go ahead.
No, go. And
Okay.
Then, yeah.
Yeah, so the answer is that when we are a fully staffed department, we are going to do everything we can to put officers on foot patrol in the high corridor areas all throughout San Francisco. As a former beat officer myself, I know the importance of engaging all the merchants, getting to know all everybody on the block, all the stakeholders. By doing so, you build trust, you establish relationships, and the businesses feel good about talking to their cop because it's their cop. And we see the success in Union Square. We do it there. But yeah, a fully staffed department means beat cops on Mission Street and all over the place. Yeah. And on Valencia, no, definitely Valencia deserves beat officers from about 14th all the way down to 25th, 26th.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We do.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when I do see a beat cop and there's stuff going on right in front of them, they just kind of look and they keep talking and walking. And I'm wondering, like, I don't know how no disrespect, it's changed in the last 15 years. Like, I don't know if the training has changed or if it's gotten muddy, but are they going to actually engage?
DA wants to take this one, and then I'll support her on that.
So I say a lot of things that, they try to stay correct. But look, we've been in a landscape for a while where there's been a lot more hostility towards their profession. And I don't just mean from the public, which, look, a lot of things have happened over, with police conduct that's been troubling, right, around the country. But we moved into a space, particularly in San Francisco, where not only was there public angst, but then there are bodies of government that have been antagonistic towards them that are involved in their oversight. And so when you talk about a police commission that has been formed, that has been very anti-police and has really worked hard to do things that tie their hands, that have made it where if you even at a point in time had to use any physical force to put somebody in a police car, you are now taken off the street. You have to create a use of force report. You have to turn in your body-worn camera. It has to be reviewed by your sergeant. They then have to clear you back onto duty. Imagine how many things you are now doing a risk assessment of, is it worth it? Right? Or should I just let that go because it's small and save all the risk for something more serious? You add on top of that Department of Police accountability, where you may have received a citizen complaint for something else, but if they see that you didn't wear your seatbelt or whatever it might be, that then you get penalized by having multiple days off of work unpaid. So there's a lot that people don't realize and even know that I didn't even know, and I was in the DA's office until I became the DA, about how many structured things are going on that often deter police from wanting to do the job the way that they have always done it. And it's not because they don't care. It's because they're now internally doing a risk assessment for themselves about, is it worth, right, engaging if it's going to mean all these other things that come to me because of it. And so now a lot of that is starting to be corrected. Prop E was a part of that. I would like to see a police commission that is not hostile towards police, but that just understands, yes, we need effective reforms. We need policies that make sense and are practical. We want a good police force, but we can't be anti-police to get there. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're on our way, but I think that's my answer for them.
There's one
Tra-
question.
Traditionally in San Francisco, street fairs and festivals end at 6 o'clock. But in the last few months, there's been big success with the Chinatown and Richmond District evening gatherings. What's the view of allowing festivals and fairs to go beyond 6 p.m. in San Francisco?
Is that me?
To my earlier point, like people and groups of people are like the safest place, in my opinion. We need more of that. I think those two night markets have been incredibly successful. And we're watching people want to be invited. They want to go out. They need the invitation to come out. We've changed our patterns in the fact that we don't necessarily just go out and stroll and do something, but an invitation to do something, and then something after or dinner after is really important. Food is a really important piece to this whole equation, and not just alcohol, but food. I just maybe wanted to make a comment about the creativity that is in San Francisco, and whether it's entertainment, nightlife, tech, business, small business. This is so important for us to protect the creativity. And all of you in this audience, who I know many of you, are the super creatives, and you take chances with your own bodily body sometimes. And that's really important to acknowledge and say thank you to all of that. But those nightlife things have to happen. I'm hoping there are more and more things. There are a number of programs that are about to launch in the downtown in particular that create that sort of vibe. We have a number of sporting events that are coming to San Francisco, the NBA All-Star Game, FIFA World Cup, Super Bowl coming up as well. We have Beta Breakers in a couple of weeks here. So all of these things that maybe we sort of took for granted, we all need to lean into them a little more and build that audience and stretch it out from a 6-hour event to an 8-hour event, from an 8-hour event to a 2-day event.
And then also this concept of entertainment zones. And I know, Ben, you've done a lot of work in this space, or just kind of keep pushing on that idea. I think now is the time to say, okay, maybe like I said, I don't have a lot of residents in my space. Maybe this is where we create an entertainment zone and have it be for nightlife and make it a little less restrictive.
I'll just add, it's been safe too. I mean, it's been, we staff police officers there, and the one on Irving, I've never seen so many people on Irving Street in my life. And the one in Chinatown's been great, and I've gone on duty, off duty. They've been really good, so it's a good idea.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. And I want to take the time to thank DA Brooke Jenkins and Assistant Chief David Lazar and Rodney Fong and Marissa Rodriguez for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today, and for your dedication to a safe and sustaining entertainment industry in San Francisco. And also, thank you to the audience. As I look up, I see everybody was engaged with us, and we really appreciate everyone's involvement in this today and for these great questions. So thank you very much. We'll be back at 4:15.
It's just a 5-minute changeover. So for anybody that did not get to ask a question and wanted to, I encourage you to meet the panelists outside to briefly chat with them. And we will begin again in about 4 or 5 minutes for our last panel. Thank you. So, welcome.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Nightlife to New Life. We're going to go from a little bit of a more staid topic to something exciting about innovation. We're going to talk about how we've all encountered different challenges in nightlife and what we've done about them. But first, we're going to introduce the panel. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Let's start with Naz. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Naz. I'm the founder of Arcana. It's a hybrid, multifunctional business in the Mission. It started as a tea house and plant shop, moved on to being a wine bar and entertainment venue in the Mission Street. And also, I'm a co-organizer of Mission Vibrant, which is a very new initiative in the Mission District to highlight art galleries, small businesses, and artists and performers.
Hello there, folks. My name is Katie Birnbaum, and I'm the CEO and founder of Into the Streets. Thank you. We are a culture production studio based here in San Francisco, and we started in 2023, really to be able to meet the moment of San Francisco coming out of the pandemic and needing to come together into the streets to have celebrations and realize why we want to live in a city again. So that's what we do. Thank you.
Hello? Yep. Okay. Hello. I'm Danny Bell. I'm the Senior Vice President of Golden Voice San Francisco. We are a concert promoter operating 3 venues, the Regency Ballroom, the Warfield Theater, and Frost Amphitheater in Palo Alto. And we also produce the Portola Festival. We produce around 400 concerts regionally a year with our small office here. Our main office is in LA, and we do 1,500 concerts a year down there, as well as produce the Coachella and Stagecoach festivals, amongst others.
My name is Anthony of Anthony Presents. I am also a native here in San Francisco. I am looking into the eyes of businesses that I have worked with, from Vlad to everybody in here. So I am local. I produce 200 to 250 events a year, focusing on food festivals, nightlife, day life, seminars, anything and everything in between. I am also on the Entertainment Commission as a neighborhood representative.
Great. Thank you, everybody. And I'm so silly. I totally was so excited about this. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Marky B from 48 Hills, longtime nightlife journalist and member of the Stud Collective, one of the recent re-additions to the nightlife scene. So we are all dealing with where we are at nightlife right now. And obviously, we all face challenges. I mean, there's big, broad challenges like the fact that Gen Z isn't drinking as much as it has. And then there's specific challenges like how do you find a plumber on call when there's shortages or expenses that you hadn't figured out. And so today we're gonna kind of just riff a little bit, but dive into everyone's experiences of how they may have augmented their programming to face these challenges. What are some novel ways that you've come up with, or how do you feel your business is blazing a path towards new frontiers of sustainability in this challenging environment? Naz, I know at Arcana, you're doing everything from, you've adopted a unique flex retail concept. You're doing everything from music and drag to natural wine bars to, you really open your format. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so basically everything started with me wanting to do one thing, but then pandemic happened and I immediately had to flex. And that's really where the word comes from. Because if I didn't feel like, if I couldn't be flexible in my business model, I would have probably not survived. opening a business in the middle of a pandemic. But basically, just my ADD mind was we're going to cross promote everything. And so if you're here for hanging out and like enjoying a cup of tea, maybe you can buy some plants. And then little by little, we were like, oh, like no one is open right now, but we're going to go ahead and bring music back. And then we opened, I remember our soft opening, I was not even going to be an entertainment venue in the capacity that I am today. But I remember we opened and there was honestly hundreds of people out onto the street. And it showed that being flexible and cross-promoting different things works really well. And so like with the drag shows is the same. Like it's like we wanted to highlight our food during the daytime. So we started the drag shows and everything just constantly cross-promotes each other. Yeah.
That's really cool. Katie, tell us about Into the Streets. And I mean, I think we talked a little bit before in this whole thing about the popularity of street markets and night markets and people coming back into the downtown area to be in the streets and out in the Richmond, et cetera. So tell us a little bit about how you've been innovating to get people out and about.
Yes. Well, so we threw our first Bhangra and Beats night market in May of 2023. Prior to that, like literally the 2 weeks leading up to that, the news cycle was windows falling out of skyscrapers and tech CEOs being murdered downtown. And that was pretty much our news cycle that we landed in. Also on top of that, we live in a cold city where everybody said nobody goes to night markets. You're crazy and you shouldn't be doing that. So I would say the innovation that we did was actually to step out and have a night market, even period, to have a night market here in San Francisco, and to do it at the height of what was the beginning of a doom loop narrative, right? That was actually also within a few weeks of that kind of hitting the news cycle. So stepping out at that moment, being like, yep, it is cold here. Yes, there is kind of a scary news cycle going on, but we're still going to step out and we're going to do it. And we brought 10,000 people to the streets, and then we were able to do that our first event. And I think that immediately proved both to us and to everybody here in San Francisco that, yes, we can come out at night, and we can have night markets here in San Francisco.
That's terrific. So just kind of following up on that, you talked about the Bhangra and Beats. You took like kind of almost a double step out in not just playing it safe and having just a night market that people could come to. You collaborated with kind of this really culturally forward organization with Nonstop Bhangra. And how did that come about for that specific?
Yeah, so really when we were thinking about what would be an amazing thing to bring downtown. And I had been going to this event called Nonstop Bhangra. It's a reoccurring party that's been held at a lot of amazing venues like Public Works and Rickshaw Stop here in the city. And that was really an inspiration point. I was like, if that party, we could take that outside and then add some food trucks to it and have it be all ages, that would be an amazing experience that anybody would want to come to. So that was really the inspiration point, was going out and loving a party here in San Francisco that a lot of other people loved, and knowing that we just needed to give it a bigger platform to thrive.
Love that. Danny, okay, kind of scaling up to giant festivals, such as the ones you produce with Golden Voice. What on that kind of larger level have you found innovations that have made it possible for you to continue in this market?
Well, a lot of it has to do with, the basic concept of trying to work smarter, not harder. And the big issue that the large-scale live music event business has faced is that our operation costs are almost double for what it was pre-pandemic, but it also costs artists about twice as much to tour as well, and fans are not willing to pay double the ticket price. So we're in this tough position right now where, it just doesn't really make sense for anyone. And so, we're trying to do whatever we can. On the festival side, we've just been trying to pick select vendors to work with up and down the coast and just trying to make long-term relationships with them. where it's more about us telling them, like, look, this is all we have this year. What can we do to make it work? It used to be a bidding process where we would have our idea of what we want and then send it out to multiple vendors. And instead of doing that now, we kind of start backwards by just going to a vendor and saying, here's our budget, what's the most we could get with that? That's been helpful. I will say, too, on the venue side, what I've done is I've had a lot of conversations with artists, with tour managers, agents, and everything, and I've just heard their pain and their struggle. I mean, one of my actually my college roommate, he's in a band now that's they're pretty successful. They sold out the Regency this year, sold out the Novo in LA, so they're touring between 1,500 and 2,500 cap venues. Their tour grossed them about $700,000, and they were in a van for them on a tour, and they each walked with $4,000. That just gives you an idea of just how expensive the costs are out there. So what I've actually been doing and working towards is just trying to understand the needs, which is the ability to put on a good show without having to have all the overhead costs of carrying all of the staff and the production itself. So what we're doing is we're making an investment that we're able to amortize production over, between a 5 or 6 year period, and to allow the bands to come up and kind of just plug and play with what we have in-house in order to help them cut down their costs. But we really have had to step back and, instead of looking at just our individual numbers, look at a long-term approach, knowing that this storm is not going to be over anytime soon, and just try to work through it. But the other thing we've done is just found new revenue programs. We've been finding that the average ticket price is going down, but at the same time, the top 1% are willing to pay more for experiences or better tickets. And so it's in a way of balancing that out, where we're hopefully able to create these higher end experiences that the top 1% are interested in paying 3 to 4 times the base ticket price, to allow us to actually bring the average ticket price down for the average consumer.
What are some examples of this, the larger experience that people can pay? I mean, that maybe people can incorporate in their own businesses. I mean, like, how are you appealing to the big spenders specifically, I guess?
I mean, the interesting thing is people just want access to special rooms. VIP rooms in venues is not a new concept, but just by elevating that experience a little further and going more of a curatorial route, whether it's a cocktail program you have, or a food program, or a lounge, or a place to sit, people have been willing to spend a large amount of money just to simply get access to that room, while they still have the same viewing viewing privileges, if you will, as the rest of the audience. So things as basic as that, but you could really go as high as you want, and as long as the event itself is something that's appealing, people will spend the money. But I mean, the obvious thing too, though, is just tickets, whether it's a front row at an arena show or at the Warfield. The first 3 rows of the balcony are the best seats in the house, and we charge between 100% to 200% more for those seats than we do for the seats on the floor. And it's just a great experience for them to have, and a lot of people have had just amazing nights seeing their favorite band by just paying more for that view.
And I know that as a person of a certain age, sometimes I'm tempted when things like the Fox Theater offer like access to your own bathroom or things like that. I'm like, would I pay this much for this? Maybe. Anthony, moving on to you. You're a marketing whiz. You're on the promotion side of things. You're utilizing social media, looking at online trends of what's going on. Tell us a little bit about what's in your world right now in terms of innovation and what you've been up to lately.
As far as innovation, I mean, what's great right now is what I'm noticing in San Francisco is the outdoor spaces, what's popular, what's trending. And for me, I've had to adapt during the pandemic from going indoor nightlife to pretty much outdoor day life. And so that's the trend I'm seeing. That's the trend that I'm pushing. So now we're focusing on more day life activations and more food festivals. And so it's great that people on this panel are doing great things with Into the Streets. And so I'm super excited about that. But that is the trend that I have seen, or I am seeing as of late. And it's going to be a great summer for San Francisco.
Yeah, for sure. There's already like so much happening this weekend. I'm like going nuts trying to figure out what to do. And part of that is I'm going nuts figuring out what to do with no money. So how are we approaching our economic challenges and our budgetary issues on some of these innovations? And is there perhaps an example one of you might have of somehow you've overcome some kind of barrier to this?
I mean, I had a conversation with Dylan a couple days ago. It's for me, it's social media is free. So it's really up to you to utilize your creativity, you know your demographic, know your space, and then from there build a program. And that is completely free, and that's just your effort. Obviously, it's going to take a little education as far as understanding how to use the platforms. And there's a ton of platforms, and they're all free. So, I think understanding how to use that is important, and it's a great resource if you have no extra budget to promote these things or promote your venue or promote your program. So that's definitely something that I recommend for everybody in the room that's not on social media is to get on social media. It's free.
Has anybody utilized like city grants or city programs to kind of get over the hump here or anything like that? Katie, I'm specifically looking at you.
Yes. Into the Streets, we do giant free outdoor civic and community events. There's no ticket cost there. We want to and are looking in ways to kind of layer in VIP experiences and whatnot to make this more sustainable long term. But currently, how these programs are coming into the world is through civic investments. So that looks like government grants. So the city and county of San Francisco providing grants for economic recovery and development, as well as private foundations and donors here in the city who want to invest in what really the city, what they want to see in the city coming out of this. But it is a really, I think that is really important, and sitting in a room with folks who do work in and around government, it is a really critical time to be investing in spaces and things like this, because as we're hearing, like the industries are hard hit right now, and also individuals are hard hit right now. And this is when and where a government should be stepping in, is to provide, opportunities for artists and the money that allows, production companies to be able to pay them, and to create spaces that folks can come to for free and come together, and also that allows them to then go spend money at their local businesses, right? If they're not necessarily having to pay for their night of entertainment, they still can pay for their dinner and maybe a drink and still support their small businesses. So definitely government and private investment is really important for this space.
Very cool. How about Naz? Do you have any kind of contributions here, like where you've maybe utilized a city program or where you've kind of maybe thought about doing something like that?
So amazingly, Arcana did not ever qualify for any of the grants that existed because we didn't exist prior to the pandemic to show our numbers went down. But now with Mission Vibrant, we are trying to tap into that world for sure. And all we are hearing is that there is no budget in the city for the upcoming year. But I think the right way to go about things in general is the private funding, because there's many people in the city that care. There's larger companies in different neighborhoods that care about their neighborhood. So those are the ones that we are tapping into right now. But one thing I want to say about affordable and easy ways to bring business to small businesses is, there's a lot of influencers out there that are still kind of like up and coming, and they're like willing to exchange gift cards or maybe bring a group of friends and have their tabs comped in order to promote us and make reels for us. We've worked with some of these influencers, and then now they have gone to be great, and now they're actually paid influencers. But I think that really helps small business because they also understand that we are really tight with our budgets.
Well, that's really interesting and kind of leads into my next question, which is, where do you get inspiration from to open yourselves up? Do you just stay open to new ideas? Are you constantly online? Maybe Danny, you can tell us, how are you finding new talent, or people that you can bring on aboard to kind of help with these things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky because I love my job, but it's mainly just because I'm a big music nerd. My vacations are to go see bands play and go to other festivals around the world. So for me, it's constant. I'm listening to music all day, every day, from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And, good thing my fiance used to work in the biz. Otherwise, she would be very upset with me with the music playing all the time. It's just keeping my ear to the ground. I'm very interested and open-minded. Like, I'm currently doing a deep dive into the new South Asian artist wave that's about to come over to the U.S. That's pretty big in London right now, and it's just constant exploring for me, to be honest. I have my few things that I go to every day, whether it be Pitchfork, whether it be Boiler Room, and really just the contacts I've made over the years around the world. I'm just calling saying, what are you listening to now? What's cool and exciting? It's really that simple, and then taking risk and just trying to be as conservative as I possibly can to try to bring acts over that haven't played in this market before.
And Anthony, how about you? I mean, how do you get inspiration for working on promotions and events?
First, I live in the city, so I am all over the place. Yesterday, I took a hour walk into Chinatown, and I ate there. I looked around. I tried to understand what's going on, and that's what I do. I travel around the city, and I try to find out, what I can do personally on what I like. So a lot of my projects are inspired on things I like to do. Food is one of them. Live music is another. And then I attend other parties, especially in San Francisco. I can't wait to come this week to Katie's event and just check it out and then get inspired myself. So that's how I find out and how I kind of create. The trend right now, I know San Francisco has a great brunch scene, and that's something I want to push for myself and for the community. So that's how I kind of get inspired on different things.
Very cool. And how about you, Katie? I mean, you've done so many things where you've expanded the concept of just a street festival and just a kind of localized going out. Where do you get some of your ideas from?
I mean, very similar to what Anthony was saying. Just go out and love up on this city. There is not a day or a neighborhood or a street where there isn't something fabulous and interesting and weird happening. There's literally not. So just go out there, be present. Actually go, when you're going to the places, go to them. Don't be texting and off to your next spot. Be there, experience it, drop into it. And yeah, just continue to do that. Like loving on San Francisco, it is an incredible place of inspiration. So just go outside, be connected. It also is what helps all of us continue to do what we do, is for you to come to them and support our small businesses. So go out and love San Francisco.
That's awesome. And Naz, you were talking about influencers and working with social media. How do you find these people? How do you find influencers and DJs to work with? I mean, where are you finding this talent?
So originally, I think we were the ones that were reaching out to people. It started like very small, local, and honestly, like as the venues started getting older and we started establishing these relationships, people started reaching out to us through our Instagram and just emailing us. So that's how things have been going. And then now we're at this point where everyone keeps referring us to their friends and coworkers and other people, and we just keep getting emails and messages. Our event director, Andy, is literally like buried on their emails. And it's just so wonderful, honestly, to see that as well, because we saw it from the pandemic all the way coming through, and we can definitely see a rise in inquiries and people reaching out to us. It's just relationship building and networking constantly.
Constantly, yeah. And one of the things that kind of caught my ear, Katie, we were talking about how you kind of collaborated with Nonstop Bhangra. what other networks is everyone involved in, or are there the Mission Vibrant that you're building is one example of a network, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that. But if other people have other networks, an example for me is the Facebook group that Ben Blyman put up during the pandemic for bar owners that really helped us keep in touch with what everyone was doing. It's helped us sell equipment. It's helped us find insurance agents, et cetera. But are there examples for you of networks and collaborations that you found really valuable? And I guess I will start with Naz again.
Thank you. So I'm still at a point where I'm a lot at my business and on Mission Street specifically. So my network is smaller than being citywide right now. I'm super laser focused on Mission Street. And I gotta tell you, I'm just on the street and constantly visiting everyone and constantly talking about everything that's going on. And honestly, it's so inspiring also to talk to all other small businesses, because sometimes when you're a small business owner and you're working between 10 to 16-hour days, you kind of forget that you're not the only one like going through the same struggle. So as soon as you get out there and talk to your neighbors and everyone around you, you realize everyone is in the same boat. And then so many inspirations come out of it that resulted in Mission Vibrant is co-organized by everyone on Mission Street specifically because I love every corridor of our district, but I think Mission Street specifically is neglected and doesn't have the same amount of attention and investment and love that goes into the other parts of the district. And so speaking about that, we just got together and we were like, let's do something about it that's positive and uplifts everyone.
That's rad. Maybe Anthony or Danny, any particular?
Can you ask that question again?
Yeah, sure. Just are you involved in any networks or support networks or particular collaborations that you found valuable? Are people supporting you within the industry in particular?
Yeah, I think I'm in a unique space because I am a promoter at the end of the day, so I'm able to work with more than just one venue, and that network or circle has been very, let's see, I've been able to move faster than a lot of other people that own just one venue because I can support different small businesses. And so with that network, I've been able to, hop from, nightlife to day life to all these different type of events. So, but a lot of my stuff that I personally do is all lifestyle. So I'm into sports. So I have a network of friends that are into sports that I can take to nightlife because they, after wellness, again, me and Dylan had a great conversation about this. The people are like the younger generation is drinking less. So my goal in my networks is if they're only going out once a month, I'm trying to do my best to get them to come to my space or my event or my venue for that once a month event that they do go out. So what I try to do with my network is I just try to stay connected to them and then pretty much volley it over to any of the events that I'm doing.
I would say I try to keep in touch with a lot of the other people in town who do what I do, whether it be Another Planet, who's a local business, a big competitor of mine, friendly with the Live Nation folks, the people at the Midway and Dials and all the different venue owners, and really just approach it from a perspective of trying to make sure that the ecosystem is staying healthy and we're not killing each other. And putting the ecosystem first. I sit on the programming committee at Stern Grove, and that's one of the most amazing live music programs for any city, anywhere. I think it's so cool. After I went the first time, it's like I have to be a part of it and just help out where I can. It really just comes from those conversations and collaboration, and there's also times where, artists could only play the same venue so many times, and they're always looking for new ideas. And so a lot of the time when I talk to agents after their act has played my venue, I either suggest either a small independent venue or a venue of one of my competitors to go to, at least for one play. In my opinion, it's really just, it's a very small industry, the live music business, and it actually is kind of nice up here how, we're all able to be friendly. It's not the case in every market. but I do think that's actually a very valuable thing that helps the SF ecosystem thrive.
What is one innovative thing that you've seen other people doing that you really admire or that you kind of want to think about making part of your practice? I mean, have you seen something really exciting going on right now? Anthony?
It's called Into the Streets.
Okay, not on this panel, though.
I mean, jokes aside, I mean, that is something that I eventually want to do. So now I can go and support it, check it out, and it's great to see it and, inspire someone like me who hasn't done 10, 20,000 people events yet, start something. So right now I'm on a smaller scale, 2,000, 3,000 people. So to see it is, I get inspired and then eventually produce it myself. So.
Excellent.
Man, Mark, you gave such a good one the other day on our pre-call. It was amazing. I hope you share that. It's interesting for me. I mean, there's two things that come to mind. The two things I'm constantly thinking of is, one, what's a new type of programming that just hasn't been done before, and or a new way or a way of presenting music. And to me, the innovative thing is called Boiler Room, and it's an international brand. It started as just YouTube videos of DJs from all around the world performing in a setting where they actually put the DJ in the center of the room. And so there's audience members behind them and in front. These videos are great. I've been watching them forever. Whenever I'm scouting DJs, that's actually where I go for the first time to watch a set of theirs. And then I actually became pretty close with the founder of Boiler Room and started talking to him about it. And the thing that's really interesting is they film events all over the world, from Pakistan and in Taiwan, in Japan, in Sudan. And what they're really trying to do is capture a time capsule, if you will, over the next decade to really show what club life is like in all these different corners of the world. At the end of the day, it's pretty much the same. But the thing that's really exciting about that is all these DJs now, this new generation, they want to perform in this setting with the fans behind them. It's not as much about the production now. I used to compare dance music 10 years ago to hair metal. It was all about who has the biggest screen, who has the most pyro. And now it's all about how do we get the vibe right, how do we get the experience right. And so that's been really great. But then on top of that too, I also look for ways just to make the experience better. It's gonna sound kind of funny, I know, but I went to the Masters a couple weeks ago, and the thing that blew me away about the Masters is just how efficient their concessions area was run. You literally set up in a serpentine, and then you just run through a chute where they have sandwiches for $1.50, chips for $1, waters for $2, beers for $5. That's it, and it's just such a well-oiled, efficient machine, and it's so cheap. I was just blown away. So I obviously took a lot of notes, sketched it out, and went to my festival team saying, we have to make concessions like this.
I love that. I am going to share my example. Thanks, Danny, for reminding me that I would love if we could do, but it's from the genius mind of Darcy Drollinger, who runs Oasis during the height of COVID, when everyone was kind of locked in. She came up with Meals on Heels, which was Meals on Wheels, where you would call and a drag queen would deliver your food. And I'm really sad that that's no longer around. And it's also, I really want the stud to do it. But I don't know what we would call it, though. Katie or Naz, any specific things that come to your mind of really innovative things you've seen out there that you'd either like to make your own or that you just really admire that other people are doing right now?
On my notes, I have night markets and anything that brings people to the street for sure, on any level, is very helpful. I also want to say, like, all these outdoor things bring business to us, small businesses. So that's been really, really helpful. And one other thing, to Danny's point, we actually had a DJ that did the same thing. They set up multiple cameras around them and captured the night. And posted this on YouTube, and this thing blew out to hundreds of thousands of views now, which actually that made them pop, and it made us pop, and that actually brought a lot of new talent to Arcana. So recording, and I think if it was in-house system, it would be even better. But whoever is asking us for permission to do it, we definitely say yes.
You could do that with just cell phones now too, which is great. So it's another free thing that you could do to just help your brand grow.
Totally. And I mean, since street markets and night markets are obviously the hot topic right now in this panel, how did you come up with the idea? I mean, how did you encounter night markets at first? I know you were working with street fairs forever, but what sparked?
I mean, so yeah, I had cut my teeth running the Sunday Streets program here in San Francisco for about 10 years, which is really, if folks are not familiar with that, it transforms 1 to 4 miles of city streets into car-free recreational spaces for everybody to enjoy. And really that event taught me how to celebrate the assets of a neighborhood, right? So Sunday Streets was not necessarily like a destination event. It was a way to experience your neighborhood in a celebratory way. And I think that just really helped me realize how many levers there are actually in event production. It doesn't necessarily have to be a music festival. It doesn't necessarily have to be a food festival. It's actually, people love being in the street. They love getting a little bite and they love listening to a little music. But that's actually kind of what they want as their regular activity and how they want their neighborhoods to exist. So it wasn't that far of a leap to recognize that San Francisco would also want to go out at night and hang out in their neighborhoods and get a little nosh and listen to a little bit of music. I mean, personally, I went to a night market in Thailand. That's where I saw my first night market. And it's just amazing. And it is part of the fabric. Like, folks just do that. It's not necessarily a special big thing. It's just, there's night markets pretty much every day of the week in different parts of the cities. And it's how everybody actually just lives their life. And so I wanted to bring that to San Francisco. And so we can all have a little bit more of a celebration any night of the week.
Terrific. And I guess just one more question is, we've talked a little bit about this. We live in a tech city. And Anthony talked a little bit about, and Naz both talked a little bit about how they use social media. Are there any tips specifically that you could share, anyone on the panel, for people to use social media better? I mean, I feel like a lot of people feel a little fatigued of trying to use social media to spark their business, or they might just kind of need a new twist on things, something that you do or you could offer as a tip. Maybe
unfortunately, social media is here to stay. Like, it's a great way to amplify whatever you're promoting. I don't know if we're going to end up talking about it, but aside from social media, I am using AI. AI has been a great tool and a great partner for me to create things on social media. So that's one thing that I would suggest anybody in this room is to start applying it and start using it.
I will say content is key. The example I'll use is the Portola Instagram, which I'm very proud of. And the whole thing once we started the festival is I said I wanted it to be a good follow, not just an information page. And our rule is we make fun of everyone and everything, starting with ourselves. And so with that, we've just gotten really creative with content we use. And the internet is an amazing place and a great source. I mean, we've stolen so many clips from you name the TV show, 30 Rock, The Simpsons, SpongeBob, and pictures of Paris Hilton and other stuff like that. And the internet, it's meme culture, so really just dug into that. And because of that, the page not only grows, but it's impactful. We've kind of stuck to general just marketing on our other pages, and it's not close to impactful with as big of a reach. So in my opinion, it really is about getting creative and also just not being afraid of the internet and the IP rules, because at the end of the day, the worst that's going to happen is you'll get an email saying, pull this down, which is fine. I mean, that's our rule. We got 3 slaps on the wrist from legal last year, 2 the year before, so we're going for 4 this year.
Good luck to you.
And to tack on to what Danny says, good content is important. So stop posting blurry pictures. Like, stop it. If you're at a restaurant, make sure your food looks great. If you're doing events, pull a great picture. I think Dylan did a great job on getting content from all of us, and it was on a screen. Like, I believe those pictures represent us well. So good content doesn't have to be curated videographer stuff. Just good quality photos are the base, the minimum at least.
Oh, sorry. One more thing is just I'd also suggest just making sure that your page has a point of view. Just make sure you're not just going in there throwing something out to the masses and hoping that something sticks. If you have a very specific point of view and mission statement and you stick to that, that's how, in my opinion and what I've seen, how things grow.
And to jump on to what he's saying, so I feel like we're polar opposites. I post probably 50 times a day, so I don't believe in like one post a day only, because I have a life outside of just the parties or the events. So I post everything from my gym sessions to my food to everything that I do, my family, parts of my family, but then it becomes more relatable to the person instead of me posting 20 flyers in a row, because then people will be like, I'm not paying attention anymore because the only thing you're posting is this party. So that's the creative way I try to stay engaged with people, is I apply different parts of my life and then plug in. So it becomes like it becomes my little ad without you knowing that it's an ad. So.
Love it, KD.
Yeah, and the other side, not nearly as good of wizards as either of these folks are. And for the folks out there who are not social media wizards or don't necessarily have the time and capacity to be focusing on that, I do want to offer that the low-hanging fruit does count. Tag people, use hashtags, use a location. They're pretty basic things. It doesn't necessarily have to be, it's better. You want good content. You want a real strategy. You want a real opinion and a voice and a perspective, and that's all the gold standard. But also to share, if you can't get to the gold standard, tag people, use hashtags, and use a location, and it does actually just significantly help what amount of resources you're already putting into that. It'll go a lot farther.
Awesome. And one more pearl of wisdom before we go to questions?
All of that, and also clarify what your brand is, because like the bar in Oakland, Friends and Family, posts like a cute little like table with a flower on it, and it gets like 500 likes. There's no way Arcana can do that. I get 500 likes. So it's just all about their brand, and you can post 50 times a day or one time a day, but it just needs to go with your brand and marketing strategy.
Beautiful. Does anyone have any questions? We're going to open it up. It looks like we've got a bunch. Dylan is going to choose.
So I saw your hand first, so yes, and then get to.
Thank you. This was such a fun panel. My name is Dami. I'm a co-founder at Discotex Media. I support nightlife venues. Personalization is a huge trend everywhere in consumer. People want to feel special. They want to buy a product and feel like it's made for them. And Danny, you kind of alluded to that in your VIP experiences at your club. I'm just curious is this something you're seeing in your venues or experiences about people wanting to personalize their experiences, and how have you thought about that as part of your strategy? Thank you.
100%. We haven't gotten to that level yet, but that's the top level of experience, in my opinion, when you arrive and people greet you and know who you are. Say, oh, hello, Mr. Bell. Welcome to the venue. You're like, what the fuck? Like, how do they know who I am? That's definitely the next step and something we want to work towards. It's tough. It really is just, time and resource at the end of the day. You go to a really nice hotel and they know who you are. It's because they actually spent time studying who you are, so they know what you look like, and that's it. But it's great if you could do that. Everyone will love that.
My name is Barry. We're at Taxi Workers Alliance, and I make it my business to drive around all the major nightclubs and bars in the city at night. And I noticed this proliferation of food trucks and hot dog vendors and taco vendors. And I think it's important that nightclub owners, et cetera, either get a piece of the action or make sure they're permitted. And if they're not, push them away. Like 1015 Folsom keeps them away in front of the venue. There are food trucks in front of the Powerhouse and an Oasis and some other venues. And I think it's important that if they're going to make money off of your club patrons, you should get some of that, or at least participate in it, or do your own and keep the other ones away because they don't have a permit. And I think it's important that you police it yourself by keeping them away. I feel bad for Midway because Midway's got thousands of them over there, and it interferes with traffic and it interferes with the departure of the patrons. And I think it's important that you take advantage of the fact there aren't a lot of late night food venues, and that you could actually make money by serving food and at least have it permitted, considering now it's cost twice as much to buy a wrapped hot dog than it did before. The least they could do is pay their vendor, their servers better, and at least give you a piece of the action.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Barry.
you.
And that's our time. I will be selling hot dogs outside in the lobby for twice as much as you expect. Thank you so much to our panelists for being here, Naz, Katie, Danny, Anthony, and thank you all for attending. And please feel free to approach any of us with questions or comments you have afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you to our final panel. You all were wonderful. If you can make your way that way, we want to take a photo of you all, and then feel free to go and say hello. This is the end of our program for the day. Thank you all so much for being here. It was wonderful seeing all of your faces. We are going to have a happy hour now at Anina in Hayes Valley. It's on the 400 block right across from Patricia's Green. We hope to see you there. It's a cash bar, 21 and up, and we can mix and mingle. We will also send out a post-event survey to all of you this next week, as we're always looking for ways to improve this event. And with that, thank you so much for coming.